Again, for anyone just hopping on the call, this is the Stockyards Wealth Management WebEx for today. We'll get started in probably in about 4 minutes, so just hang on. Can you hear me, Kathy?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Just double checking.
Can you see us too?
I can, yep. Well, I can see you.
Lucky you.
Yep. Again, for anyone just joining the Stockyards Wealth Management WebEx for today, we will be getting started in about 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, or morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jay.
How are you all?
We're good.
It's a good way to be today.
Maggie?
Okay, so it's 11 o'clock. I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'll start with some general housekeeping things. First of all, welcome back for those of you that were with us last week and joining us again this week. I want to just say we're going to continue on with the Bright Ideas topic or series, if you will. That title will probably change in the future as the world continues to change, and we'll maybe divert a different direction. But just some general housekeeping things. If you haven't already, please just make sure you're on mute, your line's on mute, just so we don't have any background or feedback from the background. And just be aware, if you came in on video, that obviously we can all see your video, and if you're not comfortable with that, then I'd tell you to go and turn that video off. Otherwise, today we'll kind of go through two different things, fairly high level. Get through it again. I'm trying to keep it timely within that 30 minutes, and we may run over, we may not. Questions will be at the end. But I did want to start today's meeting again by kicking it off and handing it over to Kathy Thompson, our Director of Wealth Management and EVP, for some opening comments before we kind of get into the presentation. So Kathy, it's all yours right now.
Thank you, Jason. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is remaining safe and healthy. And I guess I should ask you all if you're getting a lot of those projects at your home done, or are reading a good book, should I say, that maybe you've wanted to do. We've all had to resort to maybe some things that we haven't been used to doing, but all is well. But what's important is that you are remaining safe and healthy while we're all learning to be social distancing ourselves. I know I've learned a new route when I walk the dogs and a new music or two. So anyway, I hope you're all doing the same. I just wanted to reassure you, with so many places being closed, as you know, we're open for business and we are here for you. If you need us, please reach out and call your advisor to ask any type of questions. I actually was told last week that one of our advisors delivered toilet paper. So I'm not suggesting that you call all the advisors to deliver toilet paper, because they may be flooding the grocery stores. We are here if you do need us. So please pick up the phone and reach out to the advisors. On the banking side, many of you maybe have already experienced this with the bank, or you yourself have been experiencing some of the SBA loans, the protection, the plan. Just to give you an idea, the lenders here at Stockyards have been nonstop since it came out. We have taken, I was talking to Phil Poindexter this morning, we have taken almost 3,000 applications from our customers. The program, which is through the SBA program, which is the forgivable loan. And when this is all said and done, I think we'll probably be distributing almost $600 million out. And I can tell you, we have received a lot of compliments from our business owners, because we were kind of first to the table. If you've been listening, I really would like to compliment the lenders and also say it was the community banks to the rescue. They worked a lot of long hours and weekends, and weren't sure how to do it because the regulations kept changing. But the lenders said, we're here for our clients and our customers, and they jumped in, and many of them have already received the funds, and there was a hats off to lenders and hats off to community bankers, because they really stepped in and are out there really helping a lot of businesses, even independent contractors. So on the banking side, that's what's been going on. We also have a new milestone next week, is our annual shareholders meeting. First time ever meeting. And I thought what we would do next Tuesday, when we have our next call-in WebEx, we'll actually have some more information so that you can call in as well next Wednesday, which will be a virtual meeting. So again, thanks for joining us today, and thanks for your support. And everybody hang in there. We'll get through this together, as our governor says. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Jason.
Perfect. Thank you, Karen. My name is Jason Hamilton, and I'm actually at the market for Second Bank. I'm a wealth advisor, and I manage our financial planning team for the bank. Different hats, just like many of my other colleagues do. And you'll hear from two of them on today's calls through different things. You know, today I wanted to change it up a little bit. We probably won't dive as deep. We're going to talk about different things. Wanted to show other value of what we provide to clients, other than, you know, we just don't talk on the phone with clients and talk about the markets and the bad stuff happening out there. Fortunately enough, since last Tuesday's call, just kind of rough numbers, I think the market's actually up about 7% from there. And we've actually seen a pretty nice market return the last week. And we're not too deep into that. I just did want to highlight a couple of reasons of, you know, why that might be working out that way. By no means are we out of the woods, but it's improving outlook through the research from the numbers coming through. That's certainly happened. Markets kind of find more certainty. Markets do not like uncertainty, so there's been a flattening trend there. Death rate projections are not nearly what was first thrown out there, so that's everyone knows kind of kicked off, and the reason why we've started these WebExes is that the massive monetary and fiscal stimulus that's been out there, trillions of dollars are being thrown at this. Business of average families, they're all hopefully receiving some part some way. So that's certainly been helping with the overall economy. And then along with COVID-19, that seems to have stabilized for the time being. Know what's ahead, plenty of obstacles to come. And as the world gets back to normal and we start to climb out of our rocks here in the next month or so, up from underneath our rocks, what happens to COVID-19 could potentially moving forward. But, just wanted to give a quick highlight of that. I want to introduce Matt Wilson. He's one of our investment advisors down in the Louisville office, part of the policy committee too. And he's going to speak a little bit more about, as I mentioned earlier, the value that we can add behind the scenes. And oftentimes it's not what's happening. So we wanted to address some of the things we're looking at. So Matt, all yours.
Very good. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, the stock market has been much fun this year, and you could even say that life hasn't been much fun in the past 2 weeks, but we're going to get through this. And in our conversations with you all, you may have heard us say that the best thing to do right now is sort of, maybe nothing, but that's an oversimplification. And what we're really referring to when we say that is now is not the time to bail on the strategy that we've put together for you. We've been very thoughtful in the way that we've built your account and outlined the path to get you where you're going. And we want to continue that. So when we say, maybe do nothing, we're really just referring to don't panic sell, don't go to cash, and don't. That we're not. There are lots of things that we have done and may consider doing in each of your accounts to take advantage of this unique situation and to help navigate this market cycle that we're going through next. And so I'm going to go through 3 things that we have been doing. And keep in mind, these are generic, not in your specific. They don't always apply to every single client, every single account. It may be a difference between being an IRA or a regular brokerage. It doesn't apply, but just if this is something that you haven't experienced, it may be for 2 reasons. 1, you may not be aware of it, and 2, it may not apply directly to you. So the 3 things I'm going to go through are tax loss harvesting, the possibility of rebalancing your account, and then also the idea of being flexible with your distributions. So when we talk about loss harvesting, we're talking about a strategy that can save you a few bucks on your tax liability when you have to file your taxes next year. And you may be aware that within a regular brokerage account that you could be exposed to capital gains taxes. And you would incur a capital gains tax when you sell an asset or security for more than what you've purchased it for, which is a good thing because it means you made a good investment and you have realized the profit of that investment. And because you do so, Sam would like to pay you your fair share of taxes, and that's all good and well. But one of the strategies we implement is to try to mitigate that tax bill and keep it as low as possible. So this particular strategy does not apply to an IRA or 401k or any other type of tax deferred account because you are not subject to capital gains in those types of accounts. And then there's certain rules that we have to follow that the IRS has laid out for us to make sure that the way we apply these transactions, that we do get full credit for the realized loss. And so to put it simply, when assets or securities are down, when they're worth less than what you've paid, that would be a time that we could sell a security, a stock or bond or a mutual fund for less than what you've paid for it. And that allows us to recognize the loss. And what we can do is use that loss to offset any of your capital gains that you would have when you file for your taxes next year. And so to go one step further than that, it not only offsets your capital gains, but you can use up to $3,000 a year to offset other types of non-investment income. So if you have regular income from employment, you can carry forward $3,000 each year, and there's no limit to how long you can carry that forward. So if you can't use the loss this year, let's say that we don't have it in your account, you don't realize any gains, you can still carry forward that loss for future years to when you can actually use it, so you can store it. And then the final thing I want to touch on is the IRS rules around wash sale. A wash sale is a transaction that would basically void your ability to use that loss to offset your capital gains. And while it's always best to get your tax advisor involved, we have people at stockyards that can advise us on tax issues. We have close relationships with their CPAs, and if we haven't formed that relationship, now's a good time to do it, just to make sure that we're following the rules. Most of these transactions are fairly straightforward, but if there's anything that's questionable, then we want to get the tax advisor involved. But specifically, the wash sale would be if you sell a security at a loss, you are not permitted to buy that security for up to 30 days before, and you can't buy it for 30 days after. So what that's preventing us from doing, let's say that you're going to sell a security, we'll call it Apple. You can't sell Apple today and then turn around and buy it in your account tomorrow and recognize the loss. So they do want you to hold it, to not hold the security for at least 30 days after you sell it. And so what we can do with that cash is, instead of just sitting in cash, we can buy a similar security, or we can buy something to get exposure to that part of the market. So in that same example, if we were to sell Apple, we could use those proceeds to buy a technology fund or a technology ETF that would still give you exposure to the technology sector of the market without actually holding that specific security. The second thing I'm going to talk about is rebalancing your account. And this is a fairly straightforward, simple strategy. And the goal of this strategy is to get your account back to the risk allocation or the risk profile that we had initially set for you. And I'm going to say each client is different, and you will have a different amount of stock compared to what your risk tolerance is, what your investment time horizon is, and what you're most comfortable with. But the example I'm going to use would be where you started with a 60-40 allocation, meaning that you hold 60% stocks in your account and 40% bonds. And I want to add that we can use this strategy both when markets go up and when markets go down, and that means when your account is up and when your account is down. I'll go over the when your account is up first, because that's the most common scenario, that markets do typically go up, especially over a long enough time horizon. But in that example, if you started with 60% stock and 40% bond, and let's say over the past 10 years, the market has gone up, which it has, the stocks are likely going to go up more than the bonds do. And that would mean that you would end up with a higher allocation to stocks, maybe 65% or maybe 70% if we let that continue to go long enough. And while that's a good thing, because you are making money and your account value is going up, we also need to be considerate of how much risk we're taking in your account. So at that point, we would look to sell some of the stocks that have appreciated in value, sell some of the stocks that you've made money on, and use the proceeds of that transaction to buy bonds that might not have done as well, or perhaps could even be down. And so in that scenario, we're selling securities that have made you money, and we're buying securities that are at a discount. And that is not only going to get you back to the appropriate risk profile, but it's going to add value to your account. And there's some studies that indicate that it can add at least 1% of total return annually just by doing a simple rebalance. And so the next example I'm going to go to, which will be a lot more relevant to what's happened recently, is when markets are down and your account is lower than maybe what it was a year or two ago. But let's use that same allocation where you started with 60% stocks and 40% bonds, and you're well aware that the stock market has gone down this year to the tune of about 20% or so. And what that would mean is that the stock part of your account would have gone down lower than the bond part. Bonds have done very well recently. And so you might end up with an allocation that may be closer to 50-50, like you're seeing on the screen here. And so what we would do in that scenario is we would sell the bonds that have gone up in value, and we would use the proceeds to buy stocks that are now 20% cheaper than what they were a month ago. And so again, the goal is to get back to that risk profile, get back to the right level of stock and bond that's appropriate for you and your financial plan. And the benefit is that we're selling the bonds that have appreciated and we're buying stocks at a discount. And that's always going to be a beneficial thing. Buy high and sell low, as you've heard before. And so the final thing that I want to touch on is being flexible with your distributions. And I know many of you are taking money out of your account because you have done a great job of saving for a lifetime. And now that you have created some wealth, you're going to use that for income just as we planned for and the way it's supposed to work. And many of you are taking required distributions, possibly on a monthly basis or quarterly or annual basis. And some of you are taking distributions from a trust account as your income. And what that means is that if you're taking a distribution, it's most likely that we're having to sell something inside of your account so that you have cash that you can take out and spend. And right now might not be the best time to be selling things in your account and taking money out, especially stocks. As I mentioned, stocks are down about 20% this year. It's not the best time to be selling stocks and taking money out to spend it. And if we want to keep the right allocation in your account, let's say 60-40, we would probably have to sell at least some part of your stock portfolio to make sure that we continue that same allocation. So if you have cash in your account, you might consider using that for your distributions. If you have cash in other accounts, maybe a checking account or a savings account, and you're comfortable using that for a short term, it would be a great idea to use that to supplement your income and allow your account to recover, as it most likely will over the next several months or longer. We know that markets typically go up, and we will get through this, and the markets almost certainly will go up. And if you can delay taking any types of distributions out of your account for a short period of time, that would be an excellent strategy to implement right now. And further, the United States government has been very kind to us. They have implemented the CARES Act, and that is going to delay a required distribution that you would be required to take this year. So if you are required to take a distribution from your IRA this year, you don't have to do it, and you can delay that. And so if you don't necessarily need the income, that would be an excellent strategy. And so now I will turn it over to Kimberly Cunningham. She is one of our wealth advisors. She is a certified financial planner, and she is going to take us to everything we need to know about Roth IRA.
Thank you, Matt. All right, let me get my screen up here to share with you all. Then we'll get good. Okay, again, thank you so much for joining us today. I personally think it's awesome that we can connect through WebEx and video during times of quarantine. It kind of makes it a little easier day to day. So I'm going to go over Roth IRAs and Roth conversion. Personally, again, I love the Roth IRA. It is a great vehicle to save in, mainly because of its tax advantages, its tax-free growth, and therefore distributions that you take from this account are also tax-free, and that is made possible because contributions going into the Roth are made with after-tax dollars. So you've already been taxed on those monies once. The government's not going to tax you again. Contribution limits are the same as they are for the traditional IRA, and the age limit for contributions to a Roth IRA, there are none as long as an individual has earned income, taxable income, W-2 income. You can contribute to this account, whereas a traditional IRA, the age limit is 72. Again, no required minimum distributions are required from the Roth IRA, meaning that you can leave this account intact for as long as you would like. So those are kind of just some high-level characteristics of what the Roth IRA is. The one limiting factor for making contributions to a Roth are the income limits. So married filing jointly, it's about $200,000. Single filers, it's about $130,000, where you will be phased out and not be able to contribute that $6,000, $7,000 a year to a Roth account but that does not eliminate the account for you altogether. So we will discuss Roth conversions. There's also something called a backdoor Roth IRA, and then the Roth 401k. Roth 401ks are amazing vehicles to save in, especially those who are younger, to really be able to take advantage of that tax-free growth. So later on, when you take distributions from the account, you pay no taxes on those distributions. Also, nobody is going to get rich by contributing $6,000 to $7,000 a year into an account. But with the 401ks, 403bs, employer retirement plans, the contribution thresholds are significantly higher, 19,500 for individuals younger than 50, and then 26,000 for individuals 50 and above. So this strategy can really help you build your wealth. Just kind of a disclaimer, there is something called the Roth IRA 5-year rule, meaning that the Roth account has to be open for 5 tax years. And this applies to investment earnings, not contributions. I won't go into further detail about that, but just wanted to make you aware. So if you have questions, ask your advisor, ask us. And then to get into the Roth IRA conversion part of the presentation. So a Roth conversion is taking pre-tax assets from your traditional IRA retirement account and converting them to after-tax dollars by moving them into that Roth bucket. And you pay taxes then at that point today. The primary motivation for a Roth conversion is that the amount converted is taxed at today's tax rates, which are potentially lower than what we might see in the future. So again, Roth conversions, Roth money is assuming that you will be in a higher tax bracket in future years than what you are currently in today. And that could be due to income, it could be due to what the government states our tax rates are, but again, it's tax planning. As I previously stated, the income limits for Roth contributions are low, but there are no income limits for Roth conversions. So whether you have $400,000 of taxable income reported on your tax return or 20,000, anywhere in between, there's no income limit. Anybody can do a Roth conversion. And wanted to point out that conversion strategies are optimized when you can pay the income taxes generated with non-IRA money. So whether that be cash or savings in your checking account, savings account, or a taxable account, just your regular investment account, we like to recommend and advise that you pay those income taxes from the conversion with those dollars so that you can really utilize and convert as much traditional IRA money as possible. Okay, so now enough about the technical aspects. Let's get into why this might be beneficial for you. So Roth conversion advantages and benefits. And again, when I'm talking about this, I'm referring to the Roth IRA and any Roth money within your retirement plan through your employer. So conversions create tax diversification for one's net worth. We like to implement strategies with clients and help them build 3 different buckets of money. One being pre-tax money, so you're saving on taxes today and paying taxes later on. That's the traditional IRA, traditional 401k. Then we have your taxable money, which is your investment accounts. Those are taxed at the more favorable capital gains tax rates. And then we have your tax-free bucket of money, which is your Roth money. So having those different buckets of money with different tax implications allows for some control over taxes in retirement years because you're not taking all of the money out of a pre-tax account. It also then helps control or lower Medicare premiums and Social Security taxes because those costs are tied to your income. So the higher the income you have, the higher the cost might be. Again, investment growth and earnings in a Roth vehicle are tax-free. And Roth IRAs are not subject to required minimum distributions. Doesn't matter what age you are, you never are required by the IRS to take money out. It can stay in that account, it can stay intact until you're 90, until you pass away and leave it to your beneficiaries. So, and with that respect, it is a great tool for estate planning purposes. It's a great account to leave to beneficiaries. I know that we're currently working with some of our clients to see if Roth accounts would be a great account to leave to your heirs, especially now as it relates to the Secure Act, which was passed in late December of 2019. It eliminates the stretch IRA rules for beneficiaries, but your beneficiaries for a Roth account do receive that account money with the tax-free status. So again, high level, but if you have questions, ask later or talk to your advisor about some of that. So why now? Why? This is kind of why we wanted to have this topic and present on it today. It's due to the recent conditions that we're in. And again, I'll go back to the primary motivation for Roth accounts is that you're converting money today at potentially lower tax rates than what we might see in the future. So there's 10 million plus workers that have filed for unemployment this year. That means that there's 10 million plus people that have potentially less income for 2020, therefore lowering their taxes, maybe putting them into a lower tax bracket. It might be a good year to look at converting some money and paying taxes now. Business owners are have a huge place to take advantage of Roth conversions. If they might have a loss this year, you can turn that net operating income loss into a tax-free Roth conversion. So you can offset those taxes by realizing that business loss. With the elimination of 2020 RMDs this year, which Matt touched on, you then have the capability to take out money from your traditional IRA and convert that over into a Roth without having to take a required minimum distribution on top of a conversion. And then sunsetting tax rates set to sunset in 2026. We all think that tax rates right now they're lower than we've seen historically. And some of us feel that they are the lowest that we will see them for the foreseeable future. So take advantage of the lower tax rates right now. Also, again, to go back on and revisit some of what Matt was talking about, account balances are lower right now given the recent swings in the stock market. So you could do an in-kind transfer or conversion, meaning you take your stocks in your traditional IRA, carve them out, move them over into the Roth IRA, and then when the market recovers and regains its market value, those assets will also grow and gain the investment earnings in that tax-free account. And then for those who are charitably inclined, the CARES Act temporarily repealed the adjusted gross income limit on cash contributions made to charities. So you can now 100% of your cash contributions to charities can be deducted on your tax return. So you could completely wash out any taxes generated from a Roth conversion by giving that amount to charity. So those are some reasons why we see now 2020 being a great year to take advantage of maybe doing a Roth conversion. So as you're listening, you may be thinking of ways that you can maybe identify in your own finances, opportunities for doing a Roth conversion. Those of you who are in this age group, age 65 to about 72, we find this time an especially attractive time for you, especially if you have larger traditional IRA balances, 1 million, 2 million plus. You can really take advantage of this time for a couple of reasons. If you're retired or nearing retirement, you may be able to control delaying Social Security. You don't have to take required minimum distributions until you're 72. So you may have some years of essentially no income to where you can do some Roth conversions. And those are clients that are currently taking advantage of this attractive time period who don't have any earned income right now. They are utilizing their investment accounts, so that taxable account that's taxed at the favorable capital gains tax rates, to fund their living expenses until later years when they are required to take distributions from their IRA. For those of you who are still working and not yet retired, we want to try and build that strategy before you retire for you. And also, if you're still working, again, employer retirement plans are a fantastic vehicle to save in the Roth space. So those who maybe were contributing to a traditional 401k this year because they're in a high tax bracket, maybe your income has decreased, and you may want to consider switching your contribution from the traditional IRA bucket to the Roth bucket, or I'm sorry, traditional 401k bucket to the Roth bucket. Same with 403b, because those contribution limits are higher. Your employer will still match your contribution in the traditional bucket. So essentially you're growing both buckets at the same time. So I highly recommend asking your HR department if this option is available to you. So lastly, just to give a visual of kind of what I'm talking about, you'll notice here on this chart that there's all these different tax brackets for this particular individual. And when I'm looking at this, what I notice immediately is, and again, this is 2020, and it goes all the way out to 2056. And here on the y-axis is the client's income. So I immediately notice that they are below the 22% tax bracket right now and 24% tax bracket. So they still have some room right here for potential Roth conversions. And you'll see that they have a little bit of earned income right here in these years, maybe from a pension. And then this light blue is Social Security. And then the red is when they start taking distributions from their IRA. And then we have their required minimum distributions in blue coming into effect at their age 72. And what you can really see here is a little bit of the volatileness of their income and how they are reaching that 32% bracket in some years. So how can we utilize these lower tax brackets in these years to try and smooth out those tax rates and taxes in future years? So if we implement a few Roth conversions for them in these years, the scale is a little different on this slide. As you can see, I only show the 32% tax bracket and 24% tax bracket here. But by utilizing these years of lower income, we're utilizing the 24% tax bracket, converting money to the Roth accounts, and then you can see that their income and taxes are a lot more smooth throughout their retirement years and into the future. The result of this is about an estimated total lifetime tax savings of $271,000. So again, it's really a great strategy to control taxes in the future and do some estate planning and save in that tax-free growth bucket. With that being said, just a quick recap then from what I've gone over. If you are, and with respect to different age groups, if you are still working, we highly recommend taking a look at that at your 401k, 403b, your retirement plan at work, contributing to that Roth space, and also maybe trying to build up those 3 buckets for tax diversification of your net worth: pre-tax, post-tax, and taxable. If you are retired and between the ages of 65 and 72, IRA to Roth conversions would be advantageous or could be advantageous to you to control your future income. And then if you are retired and you are age 72 or above, maybe look at doing some Roth conversions to help control your required minimum distributions in future years and to help with some estate planning. So that is pretty much all I have for you today. I found this quote I took it from a presentation that I participated in last week. It made me laugh, so I hope it does for you as well. Keep calm and don't touch your face or your retirement assets. So again, thank you for joining us. I hope everybody is staying safe. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jason. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us now.
Yeah, thanks, Kimberly. Thanks, Matt. In closing, before I lose all of you guys, and we do questions, I just wanted to kind of wrap it up. This is our second week of doing this for clients and others. We appreciate your patience as we're kind of learning our way through this technology and best presenting ideas and kind of high-level things that are happening behind the scenes that you're probably not aware of what is happening. So that's why we're bringing this to you. When it comes to Roth conversions, that's really a detailed, really thorough conversation with you and an advisor or one of us. It's not right for everybody, and in a lot of cases, it can be right for you, but maybe it's not always the best strategy, and it's really something to plan out and have that thorough conversation with. Really look at the tax efficiencies of that Roth. It was kind of mentioned earlier in the beginning of the call from Matt, and as we have these thorough conversations with all of our clients, I wanted to take a second and just reflect on our client base. We're a small community bank, and every one of you is appreciated, whether you're on the call today or not. And that's what really keeps this bank moving along. We try to provide a high level of service, bringing new ideas to you, having these conversations. And if we're hoping that you're finding it really helpful. And if it's not something that maybe benefits you, but maybe you're thinking, this could benefit a niece or nephew, a child, a really good friend, a neighbor, please share it with them. We'd be happy to sit down and have a conversation with anyone kind of in your network that you think might be suitable for this, if it's not necessarily something that can impact you today. But with that said, I did want to just kind of open the lines up for questions. *6 should unmute you if you're on the phone. You can chat your question if you're on the web. There's a little center, kind of the bottom center menu there. You should have a little, looks like someone blowing a bubble. You can chat questions through that. We'll answer whatever questions may come up through that. And, I did want to just let you know, next week, plan is we'll have another WebEx, same time, 11 a.m. on Tuesday. And we're going to bring in Alex Say, who's kind of our in-house legal counsel, and he's going to have a really thorough conversation around some of the verbiage that's found within the Secure Act. So you've heard the Secure Act thrown out there a few times today. You may or may not know everything about that, but he's going to talk to in regards to how the Secure Act is changing your estate plan and how, reasons for why you may need to reevaluate your estate plan, or you might find that your estate plan is still intact and it hasn't changed it at all. But for many of our clients, the Secure Act is changing things a little bit. So with that said, I don't see any chat questions, but if anyone on the line, *6 will unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question.
This is Jay Klempner. Is it possible to get a copy of Kimberly's PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, absolutely. Good question. So today's presentations will go out to everyone that received the invite for today's call. They'll also receive this presentation by the end of the week too.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions out there? Again, as a reminder, this will probably stay weekly for a couple more weeks. If things start to kind of get back to normal, we'll see this series likely shrink down to a bi-weekly or monthly series at that point, always covering, relevant topics in the investment management world. If you should have any questions or thoughts for us on what you'd like to have presented, I'd welcome you to share that with us. WMTquestions@syb.com is an email address that you can send those questions to us, or call or email an advisor that you already work with and ask for them to share that. We're open to, and really we want to know what's on your mind. We want to make sure that we're relevant to what you're thinking about and presenting topics that can help you. So I'll give it one last ask there if there's any phone line questions. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up for the day.
And for me, Kathy, good seeing you.
Good to see you, Jay.
Be safe, be well. Thanks all.
No, yeah, well said. Thank you. And everyone, enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. Thanks for joining us.